All right, welcome everybody. Today we're looking at the tangent and cotangent graphs. Tangent and cotangent are a bit different from our sines and cosines. So let's actually, I forgot to write this in. This is negative pi over 2. All right, so the cool thing about tangents and cotangents is they have asymptotes. So asymptotes are lines that, well, vertical asymptotes are lines that we never cross with our graphs. So at these asymptotes, our functions would be undefined. So keep in mind, anytime we have something like that on a unit circle, right? If our sine is 1 and our cosine is 0, then we have undefined. And anytime we have an undefined, we have a vertical asymptote. So if you notice on your unit circle, our tangent, our y over x, would be undefined at negative pi over 2, at pi over 2, and 3 pi over 2. All right, so when we're doing our tangent and cotangent graphs, we're going to use these asymptotes as a guide. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the point halfway between our asymptotes, and our tangent is going to look like this. It's getting ever and ever closer to those asymptotes, but never touching it. Okay, so we can draw another one in here for our tangent. And then it will continue on this way. Actually, we can draw it again. All right. So one thing to notice here is that the period is going to be half of our sines and cosines. So to find our period for tangents and cotangents, it's just pi over omega, not 2 pi over omega. So be very careful about that. And we don't really talk about amplitude when we're talking about tangent and cotangent, even though we can change it. But all that's going to do is stretch it. We're not going to say that there's a top. There's not going to be a max and min for tangent and cotangents because they continue upwards and downwards forever. So all that the A does is going to be stretch or compress. All right, so for cotangent's a little bit different. Our cotangent is going to be undefined at pi and 2 pi and 0 technically, so we can draw our dotted lines through there. And then our cotangent looks pretty much the same as tangent, but this time it's decreasing. Okay, again, notice that it's a little easier to see for our cotangent, but our period is going to be pi because it goes from 0 to pi for one cycle before it repeats the graph. All right, let's do some examples here. So these are the forms that we're looking at. We noted earlier that the amplitude is A, even though we don't really use it to graph other than stretch and compress. Our period is pi over omega. That's asking us to graph these two functions. Let's go ahead and do so. So when we're doing our tangent, right, we're just going to draw our asymptotes at negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. You don't have to do multiple cycles. Now also, remember that the algebra rules apply. So this minus 1, all it is a translation down 1. So rather than starting our middle at the origin, our middle is going to start at one down on our y-axis, right? So this is a vertical translation, right? Shift of -1. So we're going to use that point to anchor our tangent. The 2 here is just going to stretch it out. So if this, let me draw like, if this is our normal tangent, right? In the dotted line, all it is going to stretch it out. So it's going to be a little bit stretched out. Top and bottom. Okay, so that 2 is a stretch. All right, let's do our cotangent. So our cotangent, our asymptotes are 0 and pi. So we're gonna use those asymptotes to guide us. This doesn't have a plus or minus at the end. Let's use a different color. It doesn't have those at the end. So we're not shifting up and down, we're starting on the x-axis, halfway between 0 and pi. Oops, sorry. We forgot to find the period. All right, so for the period, the omega is 2, so we're going to do pi over omega, which is 2. We need to fix this. It's not from 0 to pi, it's from 0 to pi over 2 now, because we had a period change because of our omega being 2. 3 is our amplitude, so it's going to be stretched out even further. So let's go ahead and stretch this and stretch that, and then we should be good. All right, so really quick, we did the tangent and cotangent. When you're setting up the tangent and cotangent, be very aware of your asymptotes and your period. Your period will change if your omega is something other than just 1, or if you have something other than just x inside of your parentheses. And the amplitude will just flip it if it's negative and stretch it if it's greater than 1. All right, so please write down any questions you have. Make sure you have your notes, and then we can talk about them next class. Later.